For the starting grid's first build, I have Terry Labonte's Piedmont Airlines 1984 number 44 Monte Carlo SS that he drove to a Winston Cup title of that year, 1984, and he was the first Winston Cup champion since 1973 to win the title without a victory at a super speedway, which of course was because winning at Daytona or winning at Talladega generally was a measuring stick for who had the most speed and who could get the most out of their car, and someone who won at one of those tracks for a long time usually went on to win the title. He won 2 races that year, one at the short track Bristol, and then he won at Riverside, which used to be the start of the season, or sometimes the second race of the season, before NASCAR started beginning their seasons at Daytona, which of course is what they've done for a number of years now. So this model is a monogram kit, 1/24 scale. What was interesting about this model, I found it on either Amazon or eBay. It came in its factory plastic seal. It is original 1984, so it is 35, 36 years old. So the decals are a bit tricky. As you can see, there's some discoloration on a little bit of them. This red trim piece that you see that goes around outlines the white, that was a nightmare to work with. It didn't work at all, but it's passable. The Piedmont decals here came out pretty well. There's only a little bit of discoloration like on the edges of the letters. The numbers look fine, secondary sponsors, so really, all things considered, it looks pretty decent for its age. For the striping, to get his paint scheme here that you see, I just used painter's tape, which worked out well. Sometimes though, it created a bit of a hard edge depending on where you painted, which I hid some with decals, but definitely have to be careful about that in the future. A couple of problems I ran into. I'll show you on the underside here, which you can't necessarily see it too well. Of course, there's the engine. I didn't assemble it in the right order, so the headers would not actually fit. I couldn't actually get the engine with the headers to fit in the car, so I simply left the headers off, and of course I didn't put the drive shaft in because that stuff didn't fit right, and I figured, hey, who cares? It looks fine. So, but of course you got the Chevy orange, that small block that you got going on there, but then all in all, that's not a huge loss. I did not do a super detailed job in the cockpit. You can see there's some chrome pieces. Basically all I did, I painted the fire extinguisher. There's a blue piece you can't really see in there. There's a chrome piece. The shifter was already chrome. So I painted a few things, but I mostly focused on the outside of the car and getting that up to specs. I like what they did with the hood pins. The hood pins were already chrome, so you didn't have to paint those, and the holes were inset. That looks just really nice the way you made that touch. Funny thing is too, there's supposed to be a red Chevy decal, and my kit was missing that, so I couldn't find that. So, but usually, obviously, there'd be a Chevy decal. And then I like the nice little touch, like the 44 here that goes in. Again, that decal was a nightmare to work with. If I could go back, I could probably do a better job, but this is my first build. Stratigraph, of course, on the back, that used to be a main sponsor when he started his Winston Cup career with Billy Hagan, but now it's a secondary sponsor. And of course Piedmont on the back, and another 44. I used Tester's paint for this. I just used their light blue spray paint, and it actually pretty much looks exactly like how his car would have looked, and then I think just a standard gloss white. And so I was glad, because sometimes it gets tricky trying to find these older kits, trying to find paints that actually look like what the car is supposed to look like. So all in all, the kit came out pretty well. I'm going to do more detailed options on later models. It just didn't take a lot of time necessarily to get all the details right, because I mainly focused on the outside and getting the paint scheme right, which, considering it was just painter's tape and testers, it came out pretty well, and I was pretty pleased with it. So this is my first build. I hope you enjoy it. Again, this is Labonte's 1984 Winston Cup winning car that he drove, and I have another Labonte's that I'll show you soon. But comment what you think, and follow me on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll see more pictures of my builds and progress and what I'm working on every day.